Fastlane Founders and Legacy with Jason Barnard. Each week, Jason sits down with successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and executives and get them to share how they mastered the delicate balance between rapid growth and enduring success in the business world. How can we quickly build a profitable business that stands the test of time and becomes our legacy? A legacy we're proud of. Fastlane Founders and Legacy with Jason Barnard.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Fastlane Founders and Legacy. I'm here with quick hello, and we're good to go. Welcome to the show, Ashish Fernando.
I think that's the nicest way I've ever started a podcast. Good. Thank you so much, Jason.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think the singing is something I do quite well, and it's a really nice way to introduce people. But a lot of people are introduced through Google. What happens when we search your name? We get this result, and the knowledge panel, the thing outlined in blue on the right-hand side, which is Google's understanding of the facts about you. It's got some photos, it's got some of your social media profiles. Doesn't have a description, doesn't have much information about you, but that's a really good start. Google understands who you are, but it doesn't understand very much about you. Then I thought I'll look in Google Learn About, and I don't know if you've looked at Google Learn About, and you're doing really well there. Oh. Google Learn About is Google's research tool. And for entrepreneurs like yourself and like myself, due diligence is going to be done this way in the future. We will ask AI assistants and agents, such as Google Learn About, what do you think of Ashish Fernando? And here we have a reasonable explanation, a reasonable representation of you with some interesting questions that I'm going to ask later on. Then I dug deeper and asked specifically about you in the context of iSchoolConnect and EDMO, and I got this, which is brilliant. And it's absolutely nailed the questions I need to ask you during this interview. So I've cheated. I used Google Learn About, but I had to be quite specific about you. In Google Learn About, Google Gemini, Google Search, you aren't sufficiently famous or notable for Google to instantly tell me all about you. I have to actually dig down. How do you feel about your own personal brand? Do you feel you're out there enough, or do you feel you can do more?
Interesting question. By the way, I learned about Learn About right now, so I'm going to go research a little bit more. Yeah, but I used to be obsessed about cloud scores and social cloud, not just personal cloud, but also the company's cloud, right? So we did a lot of that work and research initially. But I feel right now a lot of my focus has just been LinkedIn. I think it's a great place to start to do some work, and everything I'm doing there starts showing up on Google. Kind of trying to find ways of doing that. But yeah, LinkedIn is primarily what I've been using till now to grow my personal cloud.
Right. Okay. I mean, my guess with AI is that we're going to be going to ChatGPT, Google Learn About, Perplexity as assistants and saying, what do you think of this person? And their opinion, and it's an opinion, the machine will be giving an opinion about people, is going to be absolutely key to the future for personal branding for entrepreneurs like ourselves, but also for our companies. Oh. But the question today is iSchoolConnect and EDMO and your career. What was your inspiration?
Yeah, it's a great question. Jason, in like 10 years ago, the MBA bug bit me, and I was like, I want to do my MBA in the US. I want to travel, learn about people. Business is about being global, so I don't want to be stuck in India. So when I got on a plane and came to the US, everything changed for me, and that's because I come from a financial background. My family wasn't really, ready to spend 75, 100,000 a year on an MBA in the US, and that was just not going to happen. And taking that big a loan for my education did not seem like the right thing to do, right? So I did a lot of my own research. I went to consultants. I failed. They failed. It just wasn't the right thing. And then after 3 years of consistent research, I actually got 5 offers, out of which on 4 I got scholarships. And 1 out of those was a full ride. So I went to Bentley on 100% scholarship, 10-month MBA, started telling my story on YouTube. And I created my first video which was how I got to the US on a 100% scholarship. Went viral. I think in a couple of weeks, I hit 1 million views on it. And students started reaching out to me, asking for advice and guidance on how I did this, right? And that's what turned into a business. So I was working for an employer back then, and I told him, listen, I have to do this. Like, look at how many people need help. How many students globally need help with finding the right fit? And that's how I went about it.
So, like a lot of entrepreneurs, you lucked into a business opportunity through a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I'd slightly tweak that. I feel like, once you're persistent at something, it feels like luck, but a lot of times it's just opportunity meeting
Yes.
persistence, right? And
I put
yes, so I was
inverted
like,
commas around the lucked into, because it is that thing is people say to me, oh, I was working in cartoons before. Now I work in managing personal brands and corporate brands in AI and Google. And they say, that's a brilliant job. You lucked into it. And you go, no, I didn't. I found the opportunity. I saw the opportunity. I identified it. And then I was
that's right.
persistent. And that's not luck.
You're right. Yes, I saw the double inverted, so that's why I
Ah,
was like, I know this is coming. Because you're an entrepreneur, you know that, right? When you become successful, and suddenly a lot of people around you start saying, "Oh, you are lucky." Yeah. So
and you
I,
switched very
I get a
quickly
lot of.
to become a leader and looking for investors. How did that happen?
Yes, because especially when you're in a consumer business, with students, like you're talking getting at least 20 million hits a year on your website. It's not possible, unfortunately, to bootstrap that kind of a company, right? You could
Mm,
do it. You'll have a small boutique business, and you'll probably help like 10, 20 students a year. No, I was thinking of a business that scales globally, right? Now,
right.
my goal is to hit 1 million students a year who are getting help through iSchool. So the only way was to get investments. Yes. Um, there again, I was very persistent. I was pitching. I got booted out of the office by at least 1,000 investors, like not even exaggerating, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, it's that first investor. You gotta play it hard till you get that first investor. And then I got the first, and then they called up their friends, and then I got the second, and that's how we kind of started. But yeah, it was a hard start for sure. It was hard at the beginning.
So in terms of investment, it's that first one that counts, and it's a lot of insistent dedication to keep going, refusal after refusal. But once you've got the first one, how do you leverage that first one beyond them simply saying to their friends, this is a great opportunity?
Yeah, sure. What I realized, Jason, after talking to so many investors and them saying no, I realized it's not actually about us as an entrepreneur. It's not about our product. In most cases, a lot of entrepreneurs were so persistent. If you've talked to 100 investors, I feel like you really believe in your idea. If you've gotten rooted out 100 times, you really believe in your idea. At that point, you got to realize that a lot of investors by design are just risk averse, right? And it's
Right.
not really sometimes about you. It's just about them saying, man, it's a brand new idea. Nobody's done it. Well, yeah, that's why you're going to make billions out of it if you invest in me. But no, nobody's done it. I don't see the stats. And so for me to get that first investor was hard. But then using them to say, hey, can you please open up your Rolodex? Like, you've invested, which means you trust me. And then they made a few phone calls, and I got the second and the third. Like, that's at that point, I already knew a lot of the investors in the market. Some of them had said no to me. But one of the friends calling them and saying, man, listen, there's something in this idea, and there's something in this team. More importantly, right? It's what count is the founder and the team, in my opinion, more than the idea and the product, especially in your pre-seed round. And so once I got to that, then life was stable after that.
Yeah, I love the idea that even those who have said no, if a friend rings them up and says, actually, this is a good idea, they can turn around. I also love the idea that the founder and the team is the most important. I think for Kalicube, we can bear that in mind. The team and the founder are going to drive the company forwards. I mean, once you got started with the investors, is that what you found for the product and the company? Or is it different once you actually start running the company?
One of my investors is one of my best investors, advisors, friend. And I asked him, I said, why did you drop, $500,000 in my idea? Uh, and he said, I didn't drop it in your idea. I don't even care what your idea is. I don't even
Mm.
care if you pivot tomorrow, you change the name of your company. I put my money in you. Because I have seen you, I've seen your grit, I've seen what you do for the companies you work for. I actually I worked for his company, so he was my boss. So he'd
Mm.
seen me, right? And he said, I've seen how frugal you are with a dollar, right? You put $1 in, you're gonna make sure it becomes 2 or 5 or 10.
Mm.
And that's the reason I put the money in. Like those are the people you want to find. I feel like that's where I think luck plays a part is I I I feel like it was a blessing that the investors I got really care about me, the initial investors I got, because then that laid the groundwork for who I bring in next. Like for my Series A, like I'm not first looking at what your brand is. You might be the best, you might be like SoftBank. I don't care. How are you going to treat me as a founder? Do you respect my ideas? Do you respect how I think? Do you respect my team? Do you understand education as a business? It's different than every other business, right? It's got a slower growing curve, but then once it gets there, it's much more stable than other industries. Like, do you get all that? That mattered to me more. I've said no to money, even though I was desperate for it.
Mm. Okay,
Right.
and that's the key then, is to stick to your beliefs and say, well, this is where I am, this is who I am, this is where I want to go, and I need people on board who can support me and believe in that.
Absolutely. I think founders should know this, that, the market's created this sort of it's like a faux pas, right? A founder who's raising money gets patted on the back. Brilliant job. Company is now valued at $1 billion. You raised so much money, you raised 400, 300 million. Great job, successful. But the guy was actually building a profitable EBITDA positive business and was not raised any capital, bootstrapped it to 100 million in revenue. Nobody even talks about that founder. Why?
Right.
Because the company doesn't show up on Crunchbase as a valuation of so and so, right? Because you'll only see valuation on Google and Crunchbase and all these places if you raise a round of funding, because then it'll say, oh, company X raised $20 million at a valuation of this. But guess what? If you're building a really good business and it's profitable from day one and you're not raising money, people will think you're a failure. Like that's kind of how it's become off the market, which is a very interesting thing. So my suggestion to founders is if you can bootstrap, raise a little bit of money at the start. Do not go run after money. I was that guy. For the first 2-3 years of my life, I was like, oh my God, I need more money. I need more money, or else I'm gonna just run out of business or whatever. But I'll tell you this one very quick story.
Yeah.
A true story, right? In our initial days, this is like year 2 of iSchool, and we'd raised a couple of $1 million, and we're going strong. And we were doing international student admissions, right? And then COVID hit. And guess which was the first industry to get hit? International student travel.
Right.
Everything stopped. Everything stopped. So I went from like year 1 of, I think year 1, we didn't make any money. We were building product. Year 2, 300,000. Year 3, COVID hit. When we were like, oh my God, we're going to grow. Let's hire people. So we went to like 150. Our investors, even though they're really, smart people, they believe in us, they trust us, but they said, Ashish, yeah, I think it's time to wrap up, right?
Oh.
We're probably gonna have to shut down because this thing doesn't seem to stop. COVID is like it's gonna be there for some time. Our revenues went up by 15x,
Wow.
right? And that's because like the founding belief of the team was it doesn't matter what, we're gonna survive. And that opened up all sorts of avenues. Now I have investors coming to me. I don't even pitch. I don't go out. I don't talk to investors, but I haven't raised in the last 2.5, 3 years. Why? Because we'll close this year at 22% profit. Like, I don't need to, right? And that's my one lesson I learned that I want to give to founders is there is always a way to bootstrap. Yes, raise your initial bit of money that you need to raise, but don't wait. Build your business, create a plan, work hard on it for 3, 4 years if you can. Don't try to say every 6 months I'm going to raise, because then in 5 years, you're going to be diluted to single digit numbers.
Yeah.
Forget about your team. You personally are not going to be motivated to stay.
Yeah. And so as you build that business over 3 or 4 years, in the end, investors will come to you.
100%. Because investors are hungry, thirsty for companies that have shown product market fit for 3 to 4 years in a row, have been consistently quarter on quarter EBITDA positive, profitable, right, for 3 or 4 years, haven't had to raise money. I have had so many investors who had said no to me initially, meet me at a random conference and say, Ashish, man, I'm hearing so much about you. You guys haven't raised in 3 years. I'm sorry I did not believe in the business 3 years ago. You are one of the very few companies and founders that we see have not even needed to raise money. You're not talking to any investors. You guys are showing consistent profitability. We want to come in. And they'll now come in at your terms instead of you being on their terms. Because there's very few companies that fit that 3 to 4 year consistent product market fit, growth in revenue or EBITDA, and profitable. If you can get to that in 3 to 4 years with the least money raised, do just that. That's my one lesson.
Right. And for the investors, that's relatively low risk. The other question is, to what extent have you failed along the way, and how did that help you move forward?
Yeah, we failed a lot, honestly, but fail fast is an important philosophy that we have, and I'll tell you, like, key examples of failure. There's been at least 3 occasions where I have like 100+ people in the team, and at some point it was closer to 200, and like a day before, like end of month, and I don't have money to make payroll.
Right.
Right. Those are hard situations. Like times like COVID, it's like everything's dead. What do you do? The beautiful thing is there's always a way. I always tell people this, like it starts with even my, before I started the company, right? When I was here, I did my MBA. I had like one shot at a work visa, H-1B, to stay in the United States. And like everybody around me would be worried. And I'm like, no, this country is built in a way in which it will give back what you give to it. So when you work hard, it somehow happens. Every time when I thought I couldn't make payroll, from somewhere the money came. We made payroll. COVID hit and everybody said, oh my God, this business is dead. Guess what? In the middle of COVID, we had created something beautiful with AI that it was kind of like, I always joke about it. I call it the Viagra moment, right? People were trying to build this medicine for something else and it turned out to be Viagra, right? It's like, it's a completely different use case.
Right.
So like we were building AI for student enrollment, but turned out that AI did so well with proctoring, exam proctoring, invigilation, or how you'd call it. And it did so well. And we're like, man, this is like, we were trying to build something else.
Yeah.
It's doing something else. I'll show this to a few companies. Guess what? We sold it to a large public company. We sold all of that AI to turn it in. It's public. You'll find that on Google. And that was my non-dilutive Series A capital. I got way more money than founders would raise on a Series A and gave away 25% of that business. I gave away nothing. And I retained my whole company and I sold this product that I was anyways not going to use because it was for a different use case. And I made that money. So these are moments where I realized that, yeah, for a moment, you as a founder would be like, yeah, there's no other way out. We're failing. But the one thing that keeps me going is my team. A lot of times we Yeah, we forget about everything and we're just going about building products and making investors happy. No, like focus on the team. We're a very employee first company. We believe in the employee first, customer second philosophy. You take care of your employee, they'll take care of your customer.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And so when things like that happen, I'll get on a call myself as a founder and I'll be like, listen, guys, salary is going to be delayed, but it will come. Not a single person left. During COVID, not a single person left. During our delays in salary or whatever happened, no one left. In fact, people would send me emails saying, thank you for getting on a call yourself on video and telling this to us. We believe you. Right? And now you have an important pivotal moment in life as a founder. Now you've made that commitment, you've made that promise. Now you better hit it. If you tell them they're going to get their salary, they better get their salary because they're not going to trust you the next time if you don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, that whole story for me brings be calm, be persistent, be confident, be flexible, and keep moving forward with immense optimism. And it works out, and that's been your experience. And in fact, it's been my experience too. That was brilliant. That was a really, really delightful story. Lots of great ideas and inspiration in there. Thank you so much, Ashish. You get the outro song.
Thank you.
Goodbye to end the show. Thank you, Ashish.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Jason, for having me on your podcast.
Brilliant.
Your corporate and personal brands are what Google and AI say they are. We can give you back control. CaliCube.